Folks, it's here, the long-awaited data for the Brel raid. Now, you may be asking, why does this matter? Well, Brel brings with her Karma, which allows for the second tier of the bracelet to be accessed in the leap tree. And for lots of classes, this is quite a big deal. Karma does add a lot of damage in other areas, but the notable class functionality that some classes attain from this second node is quite a lot. And unsurprisingly, we see some of these, like Pinnacle Glavier, see a spike here. We'll specifically be looking at Gate 2 of Brel, which is a lot more back attack friendly, so we'll see a more fairer look across the class's DPS in Lost Ark's endgame. I'll also be comparing normal mode and hard mode, but specifically classes at 1670 for normal mode, whom won't readily have access to the Enlightenment bump, as well as 1690 to 1700 eye level for hard mode Brel. Similar to last time, I will go down the list jumping from class groups to give some form of order to this, but touch on the data collected from Uwu, who works in tandem with Loa Logs folks in the ramen shop. I'll speed run through this portion as it is a lot of data. Starting with the warrior class type, the Berserker is in a much better state than it's been in a long time. According to Uwu, there are 2,705 instances of folks who pushed it to endgame, so 1680 plus, nearly 500 more in a month since the last video, with a 94-6 split between these players playing Mayhem versus BT. Mayhem falls to number 12 in median DPS on hard mode Brel and number 6 in normal mode. BT trails a bit behind in hard mode and a lot in normal mode. Additionally, the chart gives other options like ceilings found from the logs, and even has the best pull data if you want to check out a class more in depth. We'll have this linked all below. Next up is the Destroyer class. Uwu listed as having 1,298 instances of characters found in the endgame, meaning 200 were made or pushed in the last month since the last video, and it's still the second lowest in the game with an 80-20 split between Ragehammer and Gravity Training. Ragehammer sees a notable jump on hard mode Brel from its low position previously to now a more in the middle spot, while its normal mode DPS remains in a similar spot as last time, being quite low. GT remains quite low on both, but I will note this variant takes a lot of raid knowledge to pop off with. Gunlancer has 2,721 instances of characters found in the endgame, meaning 500 got made or pushed in just a month, with a near 60-40 split between its two specs. The first notable difference from a month ago in regards to class popularity. As expected, both are bottom of the median list. I was going to skip Paladin and supports in general, but I'll touch on them here. There are 6,794 instances of Bards, so 1,300 were made or pushed since a month ago, 6,472 instances of Paladins, so near 1,500 new characters pushed or made since a month ago, and 6,015 artists found, meaning also 1,500 were made or pushed since a month ago. Paladin is the only class currently that has a viable DPS spec from this support line, but note it isn't viable until 1680 and is kind of memed on since there's kind of a support drought on things like hard mode aegir. If for some reason this spec jumps out to you, check out the Mr. 4K TV interview with Bro Shaza where he goes over the ins and outs of the DPS build. I will note there's barely any parses found at this eye level, and people who push this class are probably a little bit more serious about it since it's a paladin who does DPS. But Judgment Paladin is found middle of the pack with 8 parses found in hard mode Brel and actually number 4 on normal mode Brel. Big note here, the one parse was from a 1670 whom had the 80 Enlightenment, so he was able to fully go into his DPS spec because of that. In regards to Slayer, there are 3,962 instances found in the endgame, meaning nearly 900 were made or pushed since a month ago, with essentially an 85-15 split for Predator vs Punisher. This is another notable class of one class variant seeing a notable bump in players towards the Predator side. This new popularity might be due to the balance patch that occurred a month ago in Korea that provides a lot of quality of life and damage increases to the class, and specifically for the Predators. Predator's median is middle of the pack, currently on hard mode and normal mode, and Punisher is trending higher on normal and fairly low on hard mode. Let's move now to the Mage class type. Arcanas are found 2,559 times in the endgame, with around a 500 character increase since the last patch, with a near 50-50 split on class variants. From my understanding, this class got one of the best pound for pound T skills across the board, if not the best. Beware, this class is an RNG class that works around drawn cards and is considered one of the hardest classes to pilot well in the game. From a DPS perspective, Empress is in 5th on both hard mode and normal mode, and Emperor is high mid on hard mode and mid on normal. Summoners saw a catastrophic plummet with the Brel logs, with a population of 1,424 characters found in the endgame and about 300 made since last patch. It has a 90-10 split between its Master Summoner and Communication Overflow variant. Another slight change in just over a month, Master Summoner plummets to the bottom of hard mode Brel and mid-high on normal mode. CO Summoner is still near the bottom on both difficulties. I don't know what happened to this class in the span of one raid, so please let me know below. Maybe they all got banned for chaos botting. I made a joke last video that Sorks will either be a top contender for damage or will get buffed next patch to be one. That very same day, the class saw some changes in the Korea balance patch, so I'm interested to see how they will fare when that arrives on our shores. Sorks have a population of 4,792 players found in the endgame, a bump of 600 since the previous update, with a 70-30 split between its Igniter and Reflux spec. Another slight change since last video, Igniter Sorks sees a slight fall on hard mode Brel to mid and high on normal mode, and Reflux are somewhat neck and neck with Igniter on normal mode, but is near the bottom on hard mode. I will note a lot of whales choose this class, so I think there's a lot of top end data that has been cut out specifically for this class. Let's move to the fighter class type now. Starting with my current favorite, War Dancer. There are 3,342 characters of this class type found in the endgame, seeing a 500 character increase since the last patch, with a 35-65 split between its first intention and esoteric spec. Another sizable change since the last patch, maybe due to the class rework in the upcoming balance patch. The ESO variant is found in the lower third of hard mode Brel and mid in normal mode runs, and first intention is found mid in both hard mode and normal mode, notably higher than ESO in both. Usually forgotten because of its male spec, Scrapper is the forgotten child of the game. Haven't really kept up with it since I've dropped out of my main 6, but it was considered very strong 1 year ago, and from my understanding, its Thai variant has a great 1680 node unlock. Scrapper has 1,940 characters found in the endgame, with about a 300 character increase in just a month, and an 85-15 split between its Thai and Shock variant. In regards to DPS, Thai sees a notable leap, jumping to position 8 on hard mode Brel and mid on normal, whereas Shock is somewhat reverse to that, placing high on normal and mid on hard mode. This is another one of those classes that doesn't get talked about that much, Soulfist, with 1,917 characters found in the endgame, around a 300 character increase since the last time, and a near 50-50 split of its class specs. This is one of those classes that, if put in the right hands, can do ungodly damage. The issue is it can feel slightly lackluster in the wrong hands, causing many to drop it. Its Giga Burst spec, Robust Spirit, is number 2 on the median DPS list for hard mode and is lower mid on normal, with a similar spread on Energy Overflow on both tiers of difficulty, with the 7th position on hard mode and low on normal mode list. The top players of this class are typically always in the top 6 specs in the game throughout my lifetime of this game. Just beware of its downsides. Galavier sees one of the biggest damage upgrades from its bracelet leap points in the game, if not the biggest. This directly affects the crit and damage of its T skill that goes from never critting to dropping a damn nuke every cooldown. The class has 1,727 characters found in the endgame, with around a 300 character increase and a 65-35 split between its Pinnacle and Control spec. As projected, Pinnacle sees one of the highest spikes, rising to number 4 on the hard mode list and high on normal mode, whilst Control is low on normal mode and low on hard mode. Potentially the most sad individuals in the game, Striker. This class did see some major quality of life in the upcoming balance patch from Korea. In regards to player base, there are 1,407 Strikers who made it to 1680 without dropping the class. Notably, one of the lowest increases in a month since the event, with a 250 character increase, and a 60-40 split between Deathblow and Esoteric Flurry. From a DPS perspective, the class has some of the lowest median parses in the region for both hard mode and normal mode Brel. It will be interesting to see the state it's in post-balance patch. Last, but definitely not least, on the fighter side, the Breaker. A meta monster of recent, how is it faring currently? It has some of the highest current endgame characters in the game, with 5,665, just shy of 1,000 pushed to endgame since the event last month, and a near 50-50 split between its two specs. BK is low on hard mode Brel and mid on normal mode, whilst Asura is mid on hard mode Brel and number 2 on normal mode Brel. BK players are being skill diffed since a large amount aren't adapting too well to this new playstyle at at 1680. Now let's move to the always up good class type, the Assassin. First up is the Deathblade. Remaining energy still remains in a good spot, so let's see how this behemoth fares after all this hype. There's currently 5,141 characters in the endgame, one of the highest increases since the event of around 1,100, with an 80-20 split between RE and Surge players. This is another larger swap since last time. I imagine something happened to the balance that has folks reverting back to Surge to practice before it arrives. RE, as expected, is number 3 on hard mode Brel and number 2 on normal mode, while Surge is last on hard mode and pretty low on normal. I'm gonna be honest, I don't really know what's going on with Surge. I assume the gamers are just still mostly on RE, or the skilled Surge folks are a much higher eye level. Shadowhunter remains one of the biggest hidden gems in the game. DI Shadowhunter is arguably the easiest class to play in the game, and its other spec, Perfect Suppression, provides a high DPS other identity to opt with if you don't want to fully piano play. There are currently 2,496 Shadowhunters in the endgame, with about a 600 character increase since the event, with a 90-10 split between its Demonic Impulse and Perfect Suppression identities. DI Shadowhunter saw one of the biggest upgrades in Tier 4, as it wasn't being balanced around not needing more than 2 gems anymore with how T4 gems function, and at 1680 it sees a huge identity skill added to its arsenal that has been dubbed the DI Surge because of how hard it hits. For the Brel chart, DI ranks around the middle, and Perfect Suppression is number 6 on the list for hard mode, and DI is low and Perfect Suppression is still high on normal mode. Next up, a class I don't really know too much about, the Reaper. The class has 1,990 characters found in the endgame, about a 300 character increase with the event, and a 25-75 split between its specs, Lunar versus Hunger. Hunger sees a notable rise, becoming number 13 on the hard mode charts, with Lunar just beating it with position number 11. Lunar is pretty low on normal, and Hunger is mid. The last of the Assassins is the most popular class in the game, the Soul Eater. This class has 7,806 characters with a 1,500 character increase since the event, and a near 50-50 split between its Full Moon and Night's Edge variant. For hard mode Aegir, Full Moon plummets to around the middle of the pack of hard mode, whereas Night's Edge sits high. In normal mode, Night's Edge sits near the top with the 8th position, whereas Full Moon is found a little bit lower. Now to one of the last class types, the Gunners. First up is the Sharpshooter. The Deathstrike spec saw a nice change added to its class in Tier 4's later nodes, and Loyal Companion saw a power upgrade, but it's still kind of meh, and somehow was one of the few classes to receive a nerf in the upcoming balance patch. The class has 1,604 players in the endgame, and with an exact 300 player increase since the event, with a 60-40 split favoring the better spec, Deathstrike. But this is a somewhat notable change since the last time, and am quite curious why. Deathstrike is 10th highest on hard mode median list, whereas LC is smack in the middle, and in normal, LC actually outshines Deathstrike, with LC being higher mid and Deathstrike lower mid. Next up is the Deadeye. It seems Pistolier is in a great spot as a super easy to play class with its great new ability at 1680, and the recent rework to Enhanced Weapon has my friend doing crazy numbers in our runs. Deadeye has 1,879 characters in the endgame, with a near 500 character increase, and a 65-35 split between Pistolier and Enhanced Weapon, weighting even higher against Enhanced Weapon. Enhanced Weapon is considered one of the harder specs to play, so don't get too baited by the potential bustedness of the class. On the inverse, Pistolier is one of the easiest to play. EW is number 9 on hard mode Brel DPS and number 10 on normal mode, while Pistolier is lower mid on hard mode and mid on normal mode. Artillerist is next, and it has 1,903 characters found in the endgame, nearly a 400 character increase, with almost an 85-15 split favoring the spec Barrage build. But firepower isn't to scoff at, as my friend cranks on it with its new identity skill. Barrage is lower mid of hard mode Brel and high mid on normal mode, while firepower ranks higher on hard mode with a high mid position but lower on normal mode with a low position. Now, the most unpopular class in the game, Scouter, or better known in the West, Machinist. This class has 708 characters in the game. This class saw just shy of 180 new characters since the event last month, and the class has a 60-40 split between its legacy and AT spec. This class always feels like it's left out, with some patches in the West being unplayable due to missing skills. I said this exact thing in the last video, and quite literally the next day it was bugged again on update. But I will say I've heard reports that this class is faring well in the meta currently, and I'm seeing these reports to be true. AT is high on hard mode and number 1 spot on normal, while Legacy is low on hard mode and in a similar spot on normal mode. The last of the gunners is the gunslinger, one of the most Coomer classes in the game that is purely about DPS uptime and not burst. But I have heard a lot of quality of life was received in its Ark passive. It has a pretty healthy amount found in the game with 3,092 players and an almost 400 character increase since the last video, with a 90-10 split between Peacemaker and Time to Hunt. Peacemaker is pretty high on hard mode parse list and mid on normal mode. TTH though is second last on hard mode and still relatively low on normal mode. Gunslinger players who have stuck with the class are typically all very good at the game, but they also die a lot. Now we move to the Yaws classification. The first of the two is the Aeromancer, one of the easiest to play classes in the game, and one I'm quite enjoying as an alt again with the recent Ark passive changes. Aero has 3,102 players found in the endgame, and around an 800 player increase since the last patch, and has a 70-30 split on its specs, favoring the Wind Fury build. Wind Fury is found middle of the parse list on hard mode and high on normal mode, while Drizzle is quite low on both. A great class for new players as it's super easy to play and sports a crit and movement synergy for the Wind Fury build, making it great for Party Finder. The newest class to debut in the game is the Wild Soul. Unfortunately, unless you're playing from a bot farm, you probably won't have high enough ping to rock the Saint tech for the crit build, unfortunately. The class saw the greatest increase in players in the endgame with a 2,619 characters freshly created and leveled in just under a month. The class has a 70-30 split favoring the harder to play spec variant Ferality over its super easy and chill crit build Phantom Beast Awakening. I'm just hearing these names now and they're quite terrible. To no one's surprise, Ferality is in the number 1 spot for hard mode and number 7 spot on normal mode, while its other variant is near the bottom on hard mode and mid on normal mode. Just a quick reminder as we finish things up, this is just median DPS. Go check out the charts for yourself. It shows the best parses on record, and you can see your individual class's damage potential. You can even fully inspect the characters and see their setup. The people over at the ramen shop have been doing some crazy things, so try and thank them for this wonderful free service they are providing. Links are down below. I will note, obviously, T4 has a lot of factors to damage increases, and this is why I tried to use small windows for eye level to restrict the giga juicers, but this method isn't perfect, and this is quite literally why we chose the median to look at. If this seems rushed, I'm sorry. I was in the process of writing a completely different script when this dropped just shy of raid prime time, so I'm ripping the script out at 3 AM, then gonna piece it together during the day. Let me know what class you're rocking right now and how you've been faring with it on Brel. Any and all likes go a long way, and all links are listed below. Make sure you check out the previous video for a more in-depth look at some classes in the game for players looking to pick something to play today. And reminder, I do character reviews in the comments for newer players uncertain about things to improve on their characters. Just type the case-specific character name below and which reason you're on, and I'll give you a prompt response. Until the next Lost Ark video drop, toodaloo.